Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, my name is Linda and I'm a product designer from Toronto. So for my previous video, I talked about a book called Solving Product Design Exercises, where I talk through how useful it is for designers who are trying to improve their UX skills and preparing for the next job interview. So the author actually provides more than 30 design exercises where you guys can work through and practice. So I thought, why not do 5 different exercises in 5 days and then basically share with you guys what I learned from that experience. So for today's video, I'll be talking on that. Since this was a 5-day challenge, for every exercise I did, I treated it as if it was a real life job interview where these would be called whiteboarding sessions, and I'd be limited to 1 hour of time to work through the prompt the employer gives me. And because I'm taking the exercises from this book, I'm going to be following the 7-step framework the author provides within the book, and that would be number 1 is understanding the goal, 2 is defining the audience, 3 is understanding the customer's context and needs. 4th is listing ideas. 5th is prioritizing and choosing an idea. 6th is solving the problem. And then the last one is measuring success. And because it's been so long since I've done these whiteboarding challenges, I realized it was a lot harder than I thought. On the first day, it did not go as smoothly as I thought it would. Because of the 1 hour time mark, I was under pressure and I just got really overwhelmed with it and just couldn't finish the challenge. But then after practice, of course, by the 5th day, it went a lot smoother and I was actually able to really think about the problem itself. So now, what did I learn from these 5 days doing the 5 different exercises? So the number 1 that I learned was time management, of course. Like I said earlier, I only had an hour to work through these UX challenges, and I just realized that, when you are working on design challenges, whether it's at home or in a workplace, you usually have more than 1 hour to work through them and come up with a solution. But in this case, I didn't. So I found myself spending too much time on the discovery phase. So the user's pain points, the audience, customers' contexts and needs, where I was spending maybe 45 minutes on this part, and then I only had 15 minutes to kind of come up with solutions, brainstorm, and actually draw those wireframes out. And in my case, I'm not the strongest visual designer, so I need a bit more time to be able to come up with those solutions in my head and draw them out. But again, I do want to say that when you're doing these whiteboarding sessions, they don't really care about how it actually looks. It's more about the thought process and how you came about your solution. So if that's strong, you should be okay. But again, my tip would be, if you want to show your visual design skills as well, I would only commit 20 to 30 minutes on the first part where you're understanding the goal and the problem, and then use the last half of the time to come up with solutions and then be able to draw those out in wireframes. The second thing that I learned was understanding the problem in the context of the challenge itself. So since I was doing this for practice and I didn't have anyone around me, I didn't get the opportunity to ask questions to further clarify my understanding of the challenge. So in this case, it'd be really important to set those assumptions and constraints where it would put more context behind the challenge that you're trying to solve. And since I didn't set any assumptions or constraints from the beginning, I realized I didn't really have a strong understanding of my goal as I thought I had, and it made it harder to come up with a solution that solved the actual problem itself. My tip would be, in an interview setting, ask as many questions as you can to the employer who gave you the prompt or whoever else is involved in the session. That way you have enough context to actually go about and solve the challenge that you were given. Also set up assumptions and constraints to help you better solve for the challenge, and ultimately this will help you create a better story around your design thinking as well. So the third thing that I learned was focusing on the main use case and main screens. I'm gonna say this again, but time was my biggest enemy. I thought I had enough time to cover the different use cases that I was focusing on, but I didn't, and it just made it harder for me to create designs and just solutions around those different use cases, where at the end of it I just came up with really shitty designs that didn't make sense, nor did it really solve the problem statement that I had from the beginning. So my tip would be, don't think so big and vague where you have room to think about all the different use cases out there. Just really focus on one and do that well. Or what you can also do is, when you come to the design part, just mention that you'll be only focusing on one use case and just doing that and creating design for that, because you know that the scope of the challenge is too big and you don't have enough time to cover the other ones you had in mind. So the fourth thing that I learned is to think and read out loud. And I think that's pretty universal in the sense that sometimes what you think in your head and write on paper doesn't sound as nice as you thought it would be. And I think this goes the same thing for your thought process. So when I was doing my exercise, I was by myself in complete silence for the hour, writing everything down that came to mind. And then after I had the chance to read out loud to myself, I realized some of it just didn't make sense, or the solution itself wasn't as strong as I thought it was. My tip would be think and read out loud while you are writing stuff down, just because it does help with your thought process. And just keep in mind, you are telling a story how you got from point A to point B to point C. And this whole thing is how you are telling your story of how you went from a challenge to a solution. Those are the 4 things that I learned from this 5-day design exercise challenge. It was really great practice for me to really understand what I struggle with or what I'm really strong at. And for those who are interested in the book, this book here, I will link it down in my description box below where you guys can purchase that. But yeah, I really encourage those who are new to the industry or having trouble with the technical aspect of the job interview to check out this book and practice, and you guys will be a lot more prepared for those job interviews. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you guys want to be notified when I post next, please hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!